What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Footy with an Edge. United have just beaten Luton Town 2-1 at Kenilworth Road in what was a bizarre game to watch. United were hot off the blocks to score 2 goals in the first 7 minutes, and then we just let Luton have the ball for the rest of the game. Let me say that again. We let a two-man midfield of 30-year-old Ross Barkley and Arsenal reject Sambi Lokonga control the game against us with 60% possession. Both teams had a similar number of shots. We had more XG, more shots on target, and created more big chances. So on balance, we probably deserved to win that game, but it sure didn't seem like that while watching the game live. We were very sloppy in possession and kept giving the ball away. Every time we got the ball, it was like our team was collectively held at gunpoint to go and score a goal because we couldn't be in more of a rush. And because of that, quite often our midfield was more open than a Best Buy on Black Friday. There was absolutely no semblance of control from United in that game. And what upsets me even more is that it looked like we didn't want control. It looked like we preferred to be in a basketball game against a 17th place team, which is just bizarre. But despite some of the negative aspects of that game, one bright, shining light was Mr. 7 goals in 6 games, Rasmus Hojlund. So we're going to talk through some of his clips today and analyze what is going well and isn't going well for him under Ten Hag, and why it seems like he's actually set up for failure in this team. Before we get into the analysis though, here's a quick word from today's sponsor, Post-Op Market. Are you a content creator that's frustrated by the absolute peanuts your social media platform of choice is paying you? Are you looking to generate additional revenue from your content but are struggling to find sponsors? Well, Post-Op Market is the complete solution that you're looking for. Post-Op Market is the only globally available sponsorship marketplace where you can easily market yourself or your content to potential sponsors and forget about the hassles of dealing with agencies and their lofty commissions. So head on over to the link in the video description below and sign up for your very own sponsorship page so you can focus on creating the best content possible while also getting paid what you're worth. Rasmus Hojlund has been on an absolute tear in the last 6 games for United. What a player we have on our hands here. He seems to have the right attitude, the right attacking and defensive work rates. He doesn't moan or get mad when things don't go his way, and he's incredibly unselfish. You guys have obviously seen his 2 goals today, and since they were both pretty straightforward, I'm not really going to analyze them here. But I do have a clip from the first half to show you guys because I feel like as a fan base, we're kind of underrating one specific part of Hojlund's game. We start with Shaw on the ball here on the left-hand side. He's about to dribble on the inside and play the ball in Bruno's direction over here. And I want you guys to pay attention to both Bruno Fernandes and Hojlund for the next few seconds in this clip. As we play along, Shaw dribbles inwards like we said, and we'll pause it right about here. Look at Bruno in the pocket over here. He is scanning what's behind him. He knows that he is in some space, so Shaw has a clear line to play towards him. But he also knows that Osho here sees the space he's in and he's about to charge towards him to close him down. So when Shaw plays this pass towards Bruno, Bruno actually dummies over the ball and turns into this space over here so that Hojlund can receive the ball. And at the same time, because Osho is charging him down, Bruno's trying to occupy the space that Osho just left. So this is obviously a very, very clever move from Bruno here. But it means nothing if Rasmus can't get the ball back into his path. There's nothing to worry about here because Hojlund does manage to get it back into his path. And not only that, he also spins his own defender here to get into this space in case Bruno gets somewhere over here and tries to cut it back. This is such a simple move from Bruno and Hojlund, but it's very difficult to execute to perfection like they just did. Not only do you have to be able to read the game well, but you also have to be on the exact same page as your teammate. A split second too early or too late and it doesn't come off. And think about it this way. Marcus Rashford has been playing with Bruno Fernandes for about 3 to 4 seasons now, and he doesn't execute these 1-2s very often with Bruno. Alejandro Garnacho has been playing with Bruno for 18 months now in the first team, and he doesn't really seem to do it either, although he is very young. So Hojlund is pulling off stuff like this in his first 8 months playing with Bruno Fernandes. And that right there is a very exciting sign for us. Not only does he seem to be fitting into the team chemistry really well, but he's showing us signs of a very developed striker at a very young age. Now let's shower a little more praise on Hojlund by going through some of his stats. With his first goal today, he scored his 6th goal in 6 consecutive Premier League games and became the youngest player in the Premier League to do so at 21 years and 14 days old. He's also just the 4th United player in Premier League history to score 6 in 6 consecutive games. And the previous 3 players to do so are Eric Cantona, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Cristiano Ronaldo. Not only is Hojlund in elite company in current form, he's also doing these things at a much younger age than Cantona, Nistelrooy, or Ronaldo ever did. So I'll say this again, we are very lucky to have this guy in our team. Now let's get to some juicier stats because I've gone through and analyzed Hojlund's shots, shots on target, expected goals, expected assists, and chance creation statistics. And I want you guys to hold on to your seats because you're about to get shocked by some of the things you're going to see here. Hojlund has scored 7 goals in the last 6 games from just 11 shots. This man has not even been afforded the luxury of having 2 shots per game. In comparison, top strikers like Harry Kane take 4 shots per 90, Lewandowski takes 3 shots per 90, Haaland takes just over 4 shots per 90, and Mo Salah takes over 3 shots per 90. So it is very clear that as the effing striker for Man United, this man is living off literal scraps. Next up, Hojlund has put 9 of his 11 shots on target, meaning he puts 83% of his shots on target, which is absurdly high compared to the other 4 strikers I just mentioned. Kane is at 47%, Lewa is at 37%, Haaland's at 43%, and Salah at 44%. So I'm not here saying Hojlund can maintain 83% throughout a season, but he certainly deserves the chance to shoot 4 times a game, shoot more than twice as much he's shooting right now, because he could probably get to around 40 to 50% like these other strikers. Now, these next 2 stats blow me away the most, because we're talking about goals per shot and goals per shot on target. Hojlund scores with 64% of his shots and 78% of his shots on target. Again, you guys don't understand how impossibly good this is from Hojlund, because Harry Kane, a guy who has scored 24 goals in the Bundesliga this season, only converts 25% of his shots to goals and only 54% of his shots on target into goals. So again, I want to stress that I'm not claiming Hojlund is better than Kane or Haaland or Salah, because I'm obviously only looking at these last 6 games where Hojlund's in a purple patch, whereas the other players, I'm talking about statistics from their whole season. My point here is surely the coaching staff are seeing these ridiculous stats that I've just put up here and realize that Hojlund can actually score a lot more than he already is if he gets maybe 2 more shots per game. So surely the goal is to get him to average 4 to 5 shots per game, because every single great striker from the last 20 years has done this. That's the only way you can score lots of goals. Ronaldo in his peak at Madrid averaged almost 6 shots per game. Messi in his peak at Barca averaged almost 6 shots per game. You look at Suarez, Zlatan, Cavani, Aguero, all of these guys need 4 to 5 shots to score consistently. But we're absolutely starving our young Danish striker, and we're not giving him any consistent service. So it is no wonder that the poor kid didn't score for the first 15 games that he played in the Premier League. He is absolutely being set up to fail by his teammates, and I think he is definitely being set up to fail by Ten Hag as well. So let's get into what we can actually do to improve these conditions for Hojlund and maybe have him shoot 3 to 4 shots per game. So if we take a look at our last 6 games where Hojlund's had the goal streak, our front 4 has stayed the exact same. We've had Hojlund up front, Bruno at the 10, Rashford off the left, and Garnacho off the right. You can see all 4 of their stats on screen now if we scroll below here, which by the way I had to pull manually from FOTMob, so please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. But you can see the crux of the problem emerge here. Bruno Fernandes has scored 0 goals from 16 shots across those 6 games, Garnacho has scored 4 goals across 21 shots, and Marcus Rashford has scored 2 goals from 14 shots. So of the 62 shots that our front 4 have taken in the last 6 games, Hojlund has had only 18% of the shots with 11, but he has scored 54% of the goals with 7 out of 13. Make that make sense. How the hell are we allowing Rashford and Garnacho to shoot more than Hojlund when they are literally 4 times worse at converting their shots into goals? We talked about Hojlund having a 64% goal conversion rate. Garnacho is at 19% and Rashford is at 14%. And you can even forget about goals for a second. They're not even putting their shots on target as often as Hojlund because they keep shooting from crazy angles. Garnacho is at 42% accuracy and Rashford's at 52% accuracy, whereas Hojlund is at 83%. So to not pass the ball to Hojlund is literally criminal behavior from Garnacho and Rashford. So the first thing we need to do is to stop being selfish in the final third. Garnacho, Rashford, and Bruno all need to start passing to Hojlund a lot more because he needs to have about 40% of the shots that we take across our front four, not just 18%. And I don't care if we have to take fewer shots overall in order to make this happen, because at least that means we're taking more time on the ball and we're creating higher quality chances. So that's strategy number 1. Be less selfish and pass the ball to Hojlund. Next, we turn our attention to Bruno Fernandes, and the story is much, much worse than we even imagined, because I think he's in the worst form of his life. No goals from 16 shots like we already talked about, but his chance creation has also taken a dive. He's still creating about 3.5 chances per game like he was last season when he had a great season, but he only has 2 assists to show for it in these last 6 games. Bruno looks absolutely drained both mentally and physically because he keeps misplacing the simplest of passes that he can usually just make in his sleep. Even today, I counted at least 5 possessions where we lost the ball because Bruno made a poor pass or he took a poor touch, and Luton were just at us on the counterattack. So I'm not saying that Bruno needs to be dropped because I still think he's really important to this team. Obviously, he's the captain, but maybe he should be rested for a game or 2 because he definitely looks like he needs that rest. It's a shame that Mason Mount has been injured all season because I think he would have been perfect for exactly this situation. So as weird as it sounds, strategy number 2 is giving Bruno Fernandes a rest so he can actually come back and create more for Hojlund. Lastly, I want to talk about the creativity of our wingers and our general style of play, because Garnacho has created about 2.5 chances per game in this 6-game stretch, which is really good for a 19-year-old winger, but he only has 1 assist to show for it from 1.15 expected assists. And Rashford in this same time has created less than 1 chance per game, which is really poor by the way, alongside his 1 assist from about 0.78 expected assists. This overall doesn't paint a very good picture about the style of play at United. This tells me that it's not just our players being selfish and shooting when there's a better pass, but that our system is actually designed to generate shot-creating actions for our wingers while mostly ignoring our central striker. Now, I think I can explain this to you guys with the help of the tactics board, so stay with me here. Ten Hag has a heavy focus on the transitional game, where our team is designed to soak up the pressure in a compact shape in our defensive and middle thirds, and then counterattack the opposition with pace across our front four in Rashford, Hojlund, Garnacho, and Bruno, all being very pacey. So most teams, including Luton today, will have more of the ball and naturally will end up pushing their defensive line up somewhere near these center circles, which means the center backs will be positioned over here, and the 2 midfielders, the 6 and the 8 usually, will be just in front of them or maybe even a little more advanced. And the rest of the team generally occupying this sort of arc shape that you see over here, where the fullbacks and the wingers provide the width here that you can see, and the attacking midfielder and the striker will generally operate in the areas between them, depending on where the ball is. Now, when United win the ball back in these situations, so the other team has most of the ball, they're pressing up mostly in our half, let's say we win the ball back, the space for United is naturally in behind both of the fullbacks on both sides, right? In these areas here, where our wingers like Garnacho and Rashford will try to make those runs in behind. Someone like Casemiro or Mainu or Fernandes will try to find those guys on the counterattack. And naturally, these 2 center backs will get stretched to move out of position and cover all of this space. So if Garnacho has the ball, you have both center backs moving in this direction. If Rashford has the ball, you have both center backs moving in this direction. And so this stretching creates space centrally for the striker and obviously on the opposite flank for the other winger. Now, in most of United's attacks that I've seen this season, either Garnacho or Rashford will get the ball in behind on the flanks, and because they're actually so rapid, they'll usually get to the edge of the box before the rest of the opposition team has been able to track back. So they find themselves quite often either with one defender covering them and just the goalkeeper stopping them, or even just the goalkeeper stopping them in general. So in these situations, they naturally feel like they can shoot and beat the keeper because the shot is always on. But the problem is, even when Hojlund has actually kept pace with them and gotten to an area like this and he is onside, they'll still not pass him the damn ball. So my final recommendation is kind of in two parts. The first is for the wingers and the second one's for Ten Hag. The wingers need to just get up their head and transition. That's just it. It's not very complicated. You need to find Hojlund whenever you're on the counter attack because most likely he's as fast or faster than you, which means you should be able to find him. And the second part for Ten Hag is that he needs to stop forcing this transitional game on the team. We need to start creating more chances when we have the ball, when we actually keep the ball. None of this hot potato shit that we've been doing all season, where we have to score in less than 4 passes. Let's take our time on the ball. Let's try to play 15 to 20 passes in some periods of the game before we actually try to shoot and give up possession. Because sometimes it's just about picking your moments. It doesn't have to be 100 miles an hour for 90 minutes. It can be like that for 30 minutes maybe, and then the rest of the game we just control. We just take a chill pill. Can we do that, please? What do you guys think about my suggestions here? Do you think they will actually improve the team and actually get Rasmus Hojlund more service? Do you guys agree that Hojlund is actually set up to fail in this team because of the really low shot volume that he gets and the really poor service that he gets? Get in the comments with your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave me a small contribution through Super Thanks via YouTube. I know some of you have been doing this recently, and even $1 or $2 from you guys means the world to me, and that really helps out the channel. So I really appreciate you guys watching, and if you guys can make that contribution, nothing like it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.